sharing live stream. And thank you, gorgeous Elisa, for joining our Empowered Parents group. This is my family. We're close to 2,000 gorgeous parents in here, and we are all about supporting the parenting journey. And this morning we have invited my gorgeous friend, and we've done some business coaching together, and we're on this journey to serve in the world. And I'm focused on parents. And today, Elisa is joining me as a parent. She is a mom of, she was just sharing her beautiful story with me. And she is going to start off with a little poem so you can have a gist of what this gorgeous woman is all about. We are live in our group. We will be looking at comments. If you would like to share anything, a comment, a question, go ahead in the comment section. So with you, Elisa, take it away.
Thank you very much. I found this beautiful poem the other day and I wanted to share it with you today. It's called If I Had to Raise My Child All Over Again. If I had to raise a child all over again, I'd build self-esteem first and the house later. I'd finger paint more and point the finger less. I would do less correcting and more connecting. I'd take my eyes off my watch and watch with my eyes. I would care to know less and know to care more. I take more hikes and fly more kites. I'd stop playing serious and seriously play. I would run through more fields and gaze at more stars. I'd do more hugging and less tugging. I'd see the oak tree in the acorn more often. I would be less firm, less often, but affirm much more. I'd model less about the love of power and more about the power of love. I'll share that with you in the group because it's such a beautiful
poem. My God, it is precisely what we are about, Elisa. It is precisely what it is about. We ask the questions and we bring parents back to who they are, because when they are in connection with who they truly are and parent from that space is where the magic happens. It's where our kids drop down their guards and want to be our disciples. And that's where we are taking the Empowered Parents journey. That's the journey.
And that's so beautiful. And that's the difference I've seen between the first time I parented 36 years ago and now the second time I'm parenting right now. My partner's just leaving for a blood test, is the fact that everything has changed in me, but everything has also changed in the world. When I was parenting the first time, I was in my 20s and, well, very early to 18. I was 18 when I gave birth to my son. And I didn't know anything. You know, I was a struggling teenager trying to figure things out on my own. And my mindset was not right for parenting. Absolutely not right. So, you know, obviously I took the best road because I chose to be that parent. And I'm so glad I did. It changed my life. Of course, it gave my son a beautiful future as well, which was wonderful, but it changed my life much more dramatically than I can ever express. You know, people who have children understand that statement, but we become better people because we become parents. And that, I think, is the beauty of being a parent, is no matter how long you're a parent and whether they're your children or somebody else's children, you have to become a better version of yourself. If you want to be a good person and you want to leave your legacy in your children behind, you have to step up and make those changes.
I believe that our kids leave us no choice. If you are seeking to be a good parent, our kids will challenge us, and those challenges, in those triggers, what I call them, is where the gold lies of us stepping up to be that better person.
Yeah.
And I think we've said it all today, Elisa. I just feel we've done it in the shortest amount of time.
You know what? So we're going to talk about the tone of voice, and I love this because a big part of what I do, and you've already nailed it, Yolanda. Your voice is so beautiful. The part of what I do, for those who don't know me, as a voice coach, there are many aspects to voice coaching, as you can imagine. But if you want to affect people in a very deep and powerful way, it's all up to the sound of your voice and how you show up with that. The way that people go wrong, and I've seen this, in my own parents, in my own parenting in the first time round, we can we cannot catch ourselves and not be very conscious about the way that we speak, because we get triggered, because we get emotional, because we lose it. I remember the very first time that I learned about holding my own tongue and then learning how to manage my own emotions was when I was a very young parent the very first time, and I was a teenager, had no idea what I was doing, was losing it all the time. And I ended up reaching out for help. And I went to a psychologist who taught me about timeout. Now, I knew nothing about timeout because I got whacked as a kid. That was, that's what happened. You just got whacked, you shut up, you go to your room. That was it. End of story. Because I said so. I grew up in that sort of world, right? So I started doing that because that's all I knew. And then the psychologist taught me about time out. And I thought, time out, you put him in the room, shut the door, right? It's like, no, time out for you. It's like, oh. So you, as a parent, place yourself in another room or in a safe space where you're not going to do anything stupid, and you count to 10 and you calm down and you rebreathe and you reground, and then come out with a different perspective and deal with the situation from a different mindset. That was the very first step towards me being a better parent. And it took a long time, but that was like, the light went on for the first
That's
time.
it. That's it. That's spot on. It's what it's what the journey is about. It's that inner journey that we take in those moments when we collect ourselves and see what is showing up for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And look, it's really hard not to get triggered when your child is emotional or screaming or losing it or whatever. But I found that the worst thing that we can do is allow ourselves to be taken in on that ride. It's like they're on a roller coaster. It's not going to help them for us to be on the roller coaster beside them screaming. It's
that's
not going to
right.
help. So we need to be standing on the ground, grounded and breathing, and watching them go through their roller coaster ride, and try to protect ourselves of that energy so we can stay the guide on the side. we can
That's
we
right.
can guide them through with the tone of our voice. Oops, are you
Sorry
okay?
about that. Yeah.
No, that's okay. The tone of our voice is super important. When people lose it and they get triggered or emotional, they start to immediately raise their pitch and raise their volume. And these are the two things that we cannot do as a parent. When we raise our pitch and raise our volume, it indicates to the children that we're excited or we're angry or we're elevated emotion of some sort. How dare you do that? Blah, 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 blah. That raise pitch, raise volume is the first place that we go when we go out of control. So when we know what our default mechanism is, going out of control, then we can actually count to 10, stop ourselves from doing that, take a breath, ground the breath, bring the pitch back down, add some airflow so you've got less volume, because that will trigger your children less. The volume is what triggers people. If you notice that when two people are in an arguing state, whether it's mother, father, or child and mother, there's always an elevated state with elevated emotions and elevated pitch and elevated volume. Everything is raised. This is the problem. So we can allow our children to be raised without us being raised at the same time. And I didn't know that the first time round. I allowed myself to go off because I had no controls myself. I was still a teenager. I didn't know what I was doing. I needed to learn the controls myself before I could help my child, who was fast becoming a teenager. And I was barely out of that before he was going into it. It was a very interesting situation. But the more I allowed myself to get riled up, the worse the situation became. And of course, then you've got two people, screaming and yelling at each other. Then you've got to figure out very, very quickly which communication style is your child and which communication style is mine. Because once you have
Brilliant.
your faculties back, you have to know how they respond. Because one child might respond to visual communication, direct communication, whereas another child might respond with a different type of approach, a softer approach. I'm kinesthetic. Do you know if you're, I think you would be kinesthetic too, Yolanda. Do you think you are?
I don't know what that is. ELISA, what is that?
A kinesthetic way of communicating. When I was growing up, one of my parents was a visual communicator. She would hunt me down and then go for it, right? And then just yell and scream and look you in the eye and go for it, right? Whereas I would be trying to run away all the time because I'm not like that. I'm the opposite of that. I'm a kinesthetic approach. So when somebody's yelling and screaming and getting elevated, I get triggered. That's what happens to me because I'm a shy person. Naturally, I'm a shy person. I'm an introvert. And that's sort of where I was as a child. But when you have a parent that's very domineering and strong and looks you in the eye, that can be very confronting for a child, really confronting, especially if they're not a visual communicator. My
I'm
husband was
definitely a feeler. So
there you go.
I feel as people speak to me, I feel into my body
Yeah.
what's coming up, and I respond after I hold space for what's coming up within me.
Beautiful. See, that is the most beautiful gift that you can give yourself and you can give your child, knowing how you like to communicate and knowing how you can do that even when you're triggered. See, with visual communicators, they go straight for the throat and look you in the eye like a tiger, like a what's it called, a predator. They're more like predators. And I was married to a predator for 25 years, so anytime we had some sort of argument or altercation, he would chase me down, hunt me down and do this, go for the throat, whereas I'd be running away as fast as I could. So
You
we
probably
had,
brought your mom back.
yeah, it was very scary for me. But now I'm with a very different type of communicator like you. So we're both kinesthetic. It's so much easier because we both communicate on the same level and we both feel and we can both manage each other's triggers and help each other through things, which is great. If we know that about our children, imagine what magic that would be. When they're upset, when they're riled up, watch them. What do they do? Do they yell at you and they go for it and they want to have a confrontation about it? Or do they run away and slam the door and try to hide from you? You'll know exactly what they are because the kinesthetic ones will run as far as they can, and the ones that are in the middle, the auditory ones who are better at reading, writing, and then maybe being on the phone, they might send you texts backs and forwards, and that might be their communication method that feels good and safe to them. But the kinesthetic
Lovely. So
ones,
there's different communication styles that we can pick up on, isn't it?
yeah. Like
Yeah, yeah.
one of my stepchildren right now, one of them is very much auditory and writing, so we can go backwards and forwards with text. He's really good. If you catch him on the right moment, we can have long, deep conversations and we can have it face to face and it's no problem whatsoever. But the other little one, she's more very much protective of her energy. She's very sensitive. So we have to be very, very careful with the timing of conversations. We have to let her feel safe, in her bedroom with her squishy toys and things like that. And then we can have a really open conversation if we sit on the end of the bed and give her a little bit of space and just hold space for her, and then be very gentle about the way that we communicate. And you can't just communicate in one way with every person in this world. It doesn't work.
It's not called communication, is it?
No. And so people
because we
think,
need to, communication is with two people where you assess what their style is in order to communicate effectively.
Absolutely. Bingo. And how many people don't do that, Yolanda? It's scary how many people don't. They force their style of communication down your throat, thinking that that's you've got to listen. You've got to listen to me. You've got to listen to my opinion. You've got to be understanding of me. Well, hang on. This is a two-way street here. We have to try to hold space for each other so we can get to know each other better, so we can understand how to communicate with each other. It takes time, but two people have to be on the same page. And with children, that's a bit hard because sometimes they're not on the same page and you need to figure out how to get on their page.
Well, I think what I've noticed on this journey and with the parents that I work with, ELISA, I do use tone. I I share with parents how they can use their tone, but this is my expertise, which came from my own parenting experience and with the work I've done with parents, where I say to them to observe at what point do you get the response. Is it that observe your own pattern? Do you find your tone going from 0 to 10 in, say, half an hour when you're calling your child who's on that digital device for dinner, for example? You approach it in a kind, honey, dinner's ready, it will be set in 5 minutes, do you want to come and give me a hand? They don't even hear that, just saying. And observe if you need to come to a tone of 7 before they start to respond to you. However, that tone of 7 is backed by emotion as well, so you're all wound up and that tone is being backed. So what I get parents to do is observe the tone that your child responds to, and then instead of waiting for you to get emotionally wound up for a 7, come to it at a 2. Use that in your tone without the emotion, without the frustration, without the all of the triggers and charge, but observe how your child meets you there, because your tone has already matched it without all that emotion that they put up a wall and resistance again. How's that, Elisa?
Exactly. Look, the tone of your voice can build bridges or it can build walls. And I think a lot of us are building walls unknown to us. The way that we can use tone, you're absolutely right. You need to lower your pitch, but you also need to lower your energy levels and then allow a little bit more airflow to come through. Because as you can hear, when I use airflow, it's sort of, it doesn't make it softer necessarily. It's not whispery, but it just makes the edges go away. So for instance, if I spoke like that, really strong, really like, come to dinner, hurry up, guys, down here. If I did that sort of tone of voice, if they're defiant and A-type, personality children, they're not going to respond to that. There's no way. They're not going to be bossed around and told what to do, especially teenagers. So what I found is that what works best for me now in this situation with my two children, 11 and 14 at home, I walk up the stairs, I knock on the door, I open the door and I say, hey, dinner's just being served. It's nice and hot. Daddy spent a lot of time, making it nice for you. Let's come down and enjoy it together. And then I just say it literally like that to their face, and I go to both bedrooms and do that. And then we all come down. Most of the time, no problem. Now, the old way, of course, is people shouting up the stairs or shouting down the hallway or texting children. I don't think they're good ways of doing that. I think it's much more open and connected communication style. If you literally walk to where they are, you knock on the door if it's closed, to give them the privacy and the respect that they deserve, and then you invite them to dinner, because we all want to have dinner as a family every night. It's super important. Super, super, super important. Oh, you're on mute.
Do you know what happens at dinner at my home? I knock on my kids' door and I say, guys, we are preparing dinner. Come and join me. So they don't get invited to dinner. They get invited to prepare dinner with me. But I do have a 15-year-old and a 21-year-old. But I just feel that it's important for parents to know that your kids do want to engage with you. That times when you're seeking that engagement around dinner, you can extend that to even preparing that dinner. And each child has their own communication style. I know with my girls, they're both individuals. So my older one is she would like that a bit more connection, so she would like me to go to her room, but my younger one is happy for me to yell from down the stairs, and she would come running down because she just loves that time to connect. And another thing we do in our home is kids leave of their own choice, leave their phones upstairs before they come to family time. So I think that's another one I'd like to mention here.
I love that. Yeah, that's been a bit of a tricky situation for this family. I say dinner, the phone's off the table, but occasionally they do get brought to the table, and there has been some altercations around that. But I love that idea that the phone needs to stay upstairs if the dinner table's downstairs. I think that's a very, very sensible idea. And look, they don't argue. I notice when the kids go on a school camp, they're not allowed to bring their phones at all. They don't argue because everybody's in the same boat and everybody has the same rules. So it's sort of like the peer thing is good. So I think it's really good to place those rules for sure.
Wonderful. I think you've shared some really brilliant insights for us with us, Elisa. Do you have some way people can reach out to you and find out more about what you do? I'm also looking at the comments in this. There's lots of comments that have come through, Elisa.
Great.
Just going to read some of them here. Lots of them saying very valuable insights. Time out for the parent. Never thought of this perspective. Absolutely. Tone high, screaming. My kids will say, "Ooh, mom's triggered." So kids read into your tone of voice, and yes, appreciation of really getting to know the method of communication. So I think you've got a lot to offer, Elisa. You'd like to share with our listeners today how they can learn more about you.
Yeah, look, absolutely. As a voice coach, mostly what I do is I don't usually work with children or in relationships like this, but my jam, if you like, is helping people speak up and speak out with confidence and conviction whenever they're on stage or on camera or on podcast or whatever, but also in a family setting. It's always surprises me how many people come and seek me out for voice coaching and they have nothing to do with business and they have nothing to sell or promote. They just want to be heard. You know, there's so many people, Yolanda, in this world that don't feel that their voice counts. They don't feel that their voice matters, and they don't feel that they're being heard at work or at home. And if you don't have a voice, it's very frustrating. There's a saying that I say in all of my webinars and things: the quality of our communication is directly related to our happiness and fulfillment in life. And if you really think about that statement, think about a time when you had a communication that was frustrating, you were not happy, you were left unsatiated, you were left maybe festering for days or weeks or months or sometimes even years, right? This festering because of something that went wrong with communication. And with people who are shy and quiet and reserved, they grow up feeling very shut down, not heard, not seen, not respected, not valued. And that can leave a lot of scars in people's lives. So the thing that what I do the most is I help people find their true voice of authentic confidence and self-expression, but I also help business owners like you step up and be more visible in the world on camera. That's so part of what I do is those two streams.
Wow, brilliant problem to solve in the world, Elisa. So I can see that there's an upcoming masterclass that
Yes.
we've got a link for in the comment section. So to all of you parents listening out there, do share with us, what did you learn today from what Elisa has shared with us? She'd love to hear your feedback, how you're going to apply this in your parenting.
Yeah.
And also want parents to realize that in your communication style, become curious how effective it is, because it's not uncommon for me to come across parents who have been doing the same thing over and over again, going around in vicious cycles, expecting new results. So
Yeah.
my goal for you today, as a result of today's chat with this gorgeous woman, Elisa, talking about communication and the effectiveness of tone, to become curious. What have you been doing? What results have you been getting? And picking one of the tips that we've shared with you today and choosing a new approach, choosing a new result, and 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 shifting your approach to work towards that new result of effective communication. And you do it not just for yourself, you do it for your child, and you do it for your relationship. And as we can we end with that poem again, Elisa? I'd really love for you to end with that poem again.
Absolutely. Let me just grab it back up again. It's closed. There we go.
It was so spot on for what we
I
do
know.
here.
Isn't it beautiful? And the thing that was interesting to me is one of my students actually read that out and recorded it and put it onto my phone. And I was listening to it because it was one of his homework pieces. It was a poem to practice reading out loud and making
Wow.
something meaningful. And as he read it, I thought, oh my God, that is just such a perfect poem for today. I was just blown away. So I'm so
It
glad.
was meant for us today.
It was. It's called If I Had to Raise My Child Over Again. If I had to raise my child all over again, I'd build self-esteem first and the house later. I'd finger paint more and point the finger less. I would do less correcting and more connecting. I'd take my eyes off my watch and watch with my eyes. I would care to know less and know to care more. I'd take more hikes. I'd fly more kites. I'd stop playing serious and I'd start to seriously play. I would run through more fields and gaze at more stars. I'd do far more hugging and less tugging. I'd see the oak tree in the acorn more often. I would be firm less often, but affirm much more. I'd model less about the love of power and more about the power of love.
And with that, thank you so much for your time. We are so grateful for all that you've shared with me and with the parents on this group. Thank you, ELISA. We hope
You're
to see
very
you
welcome.
again
It was
soon.
my pleasure. It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.